question about Palestine is really important, and it's, I don't know if we have a minute extra to ask Joseph to talk about Aouragh, but I think also it's really a shame that Razan didn't make it on Skype, because I think she's a very important person to listen to basically, for me, when people talk about Palestinians' position, about Syria, etc., I really think, shut up, listen and learn. Just, listen, read, learn from what people themselves have to say about these contentious issues, rather than trying to figure out some kind of algorithm in a room in London or Oxford. It would really save a lot of time and frustration. But let me say, at least, let's not essentialize Palestinians either. Palestinians are part of a very, I would say, filthy emotional blackmail around Syria. They've been used to basically say, don't resist the regime too much, because otherwise Israel will win or whatever. We all know this is nonsense, and I would really say that we should also remember that Palestinians are not one embodied entity of political opinions. It's also very patronizing to think that there is a opinion, a position. What is the Palestinian position? There is no Palestinian position. Palestinians are also divided, like us. They also have a class society, they also have different political tendencies. Many Palestinians are divided over the issue of Syria as well, for political reasons, for ideological reasons, etc. So we should not fall in the trap to think that by knowing what the position of the Palestinians is, we can at least sort of counter the regime's propaganda, because the truth is you will find Palestinians, and I have them in my group of comrades. Half of them are with Bashar al-Assad. So, comrades bin Palestine, but yani, what can you do? So they are just as divided. But I think really listen to what's coming out of Yarmouk. There are very concrete proposals and suggestions for solidarity and positions that you can look at. About the issue of the anti-imperialist, anti-war, etc. movement, I think Syria has made us realize more than any other conflict or history of revolution or uprisings that, at least for me, that you have, there is no one anti-imperialism. There is anti-imperialism of the left, and there is anti-imperialism of the right. And this is for me what I learned in the last 2 years. Part of the anti-imperialist activist networks, particularly in parts of the West that have been very important in the anti-war movement, for me they belong now to the anti-imperialist right. And this is for the simple reason that they do not believe in popular social change from below. Their political compass is one that is able only to assess change and transformations on a political level through a top-down interpretation of change. So they do not reflect my progressive politics. It is an insult to my progressive politics to prefer Russian imperial intervention over American imperial intervention. I do not distinguish between those two. So I really don't understand these assessments, particularly from people who I learned from a lot. People who wrote about very important I learned, growing up as an activist, one of the things that struck me the most was this sentence, neither Washington nor Moscow. I don't understand that the people who used to write pamphlets like that are now saying rather Moscow over Washington. I really don't understand, and I don't want to understand anymore. I just want to leave it behind me, basically. So I think that Marxists here, when they ask this question, I think, I don't mean it in an insulting way, but I think very helpful for you is listen to what socialists have to say in Syria. Really, just listen. Read the blog of Joseph. Read the stuff of his comrades and people who are writing in Thawra Daiman. They are not waiting for us to help them invent the wheel. They've already written about these things like 18 months ago. It really helps to read and to listen. So again, it's an insult to my progressive politics. To understand self-determination only when it is a purely red one. There is no such thing as a perfect revolution. There will be horrible things. There will be sectarianism, there will be sexism, there will be how do you say it, blind, indiscriminate murder. That is the reality of people on the ground. If you're going to wait for it to come with an image of a non-Islamist, a non-bearded, even if they make jokes, revolution, you can wait a long time, it won't happen. So that's not my politics. And I understand the legacy of Iraq, really I do. But there's two things that are really important. Bashar al-Assad and his father, they played an important role in helping Bush actually manufacture, prolong, and organize the war on Iraq and arrest people, bring them to Guantanamo, torture them, etc. Secondly, Syria is not Iraq. I try to show in all these slides what Syrians are actually doing. We did not see that kind of thing from Iraq. That's a big difference. It's not a minor detail. It means there is an alternative in Syria that you can side with. We are not paralyzed. We are not like during Iraq that we only had the option of saying against Western intervention. Now we can say against Western intervention and for the Syrian revolution. There are many examples we can ally to. Don't pretend that they don't exist. They are there. So let's focus on the grassroots groups that are asking us to at least listen to them and to echo what they're saying. They're not asking us to help them. They know pretty well what they're doing. We can learn from them. They don't have to learn from us. But the least we can do is echo, mediate what they're saying and producing. And the last thing I want to say is that I think, as long as we are going to be stuck in this debate about imperial politics being something that has to do with geopolitical decision-making, we're not going to be getting any further. I think really the world is beyond that. Ordinary people, your families, my brothers and sisters, my aunts, when they are watching the news, when they have a reflex to support the Syrians. That's what ordinary, normal people feel when they see what's happening in Syria. Don't forget that these pedantic debates about whether it's a revolution or not is really a debate that is belonging to a very small section of people. It's a small section within the small section of the left, within the small section of the anti-imperial group. That should not be our focus. Our focus should be outside with the unions, with other groups that we should deal with. I learned more about anti-imperial politics from 16-year-old kids in Dar'a who graffiti walls than from Stop the War at Tariq Ali.